do you read me?
Be advised, you are coming in weak and unreadable.
Say again, Com Tower. This is Hachi. Do you read me? Over.
Pacho, this is Con Tower. I read you Lima Charlie.
Com Tower. Request permission to launch and commence the field op. Over.
Stand by. Pacho, permission granted. Say again, permission granted.
Roger that. Launching podcast in 3, 2. You are now entering the field op with your host, Pacho Correa, Chief Warrant Officer 3, United States Marine Corps retired. Get some. Hurrah! Get some. Hurrah! What's going on interweb? Another week has gone by, and we're back on the show. We got an awesome show for you folks today. But before we get started, let's just get all the particulars out of the way. So the show is brought to you by Castle Global Services. Castle Global Services has an array of basically all kinds of services, both residential and commercial. Anything from all your stuff inside your house, your internet, your mobile services, Wi-Fi, cable, all that good stuff, as well as they also have some services like health, medical health care. There's no enrollment period. If you could take it with you anywhere. If you're an employer, because they also offer commercial services, it'll be a huge tax benefit to you and to your employees, and they can take it with you and not have to pay Cobra Gold prices while they're in between jobs. So it's a lot of good information. You can check it out at all the information right there is in the show bio at castleglobalservices.acnibo.com, and also brought to you by Primerica. Hey, if you want to learn more how to prepare yourself and protect your assets, and as well as learn about financial management and investment and planning, or maybe perhaps you want to buy a house, you want to pay debt, you want to build something for your future or pay your kids' college, whatever the case may be. It's also right there on the show bio. Check them out. And, they do financial analysis at no cost to you, no commitments. Just check out the information. And if you like it, great. If you don't, that's fine. The show is also brought to you by the Great American Constitution of the United States of America. So what does that mean? And why do I always say that? Well, because, in a day and age where, not pointing things out or talking about politics, but just, where people, can get offended because of whatever case may be. Hey, if you like what you hear, stick around, like, subscribe, and follow. Recommend me to your friends, and that's awesome. And if you don't, you go ahead and move on. Swipe left, go check something else out. Perhaps something from sitchradio.com. They got all kinds of great shows on there. Aaron Sieber's show is on there, as well as Brian, the owner and show director as well. He's got his own show called I Podcast That, with a lot of good information. The dude is a mad scientist when it comes to computer and tech stuff. So you might, you want to check him out, among other things. So that's why I say that, hey, if you like what you hear, we support the First Amendment and Second Amendment, freedom of speech, right to bear arms, so that good stuff. So that's what I fought for. So stick around. And, we've also been, the VA is also a great advocate for us veterans. So with that being said, here's an awesome message from the VA.
This is a message from the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. If you were exposed to toxic substances while serving in the military, a new law called the PACT Act may make you eligible for additional benefits and care. The PACT Act benefits veterans of the Vietnam era, Gulf War era, and post 9/11 era who were exposed to toxic fumes, burn pits, Agent Orange, radiation, and other environmental hazards. Survivors of toxic exposed veterans and veterans who served in specific countries in Africa, the Middle East, and Southwest Asia are also potentially eligible. Learn more about the PACT Act by going to va.gov/PACT or by calling 1-800-MY-VA-411. We at VA are here for you, and we're ready to get you the care and benefits you've earned and deserve. I'm Mike Richmond.
Thanks, Mike Richmond. We appreciate that message. So basically, and I'll sum it all up for you folks, under the PACT Act, presumptive conditions, you've heard some of my guests over here, Jane Babcock being one of them. Basically, hey, right now, if you have any respiratory issues, for those, burn pits and anything else associated under the PACT Act, you don't have to go. You don't have to show medical proof or whatever. It's because it's in the presumptive conditions. It is assumed that it is service connected, and you will get compensated for it. So throw everything on the kitchen sink on that bad boy is all I'm saying. So I should see a gaggle of people running towards the VA or ebenefits.org and start submitting, or gov, I mean, start submitting your claims because now is the time to do it. If you want to get that permanent total, now is the time to do it, folks. Anyways, we got an awesome show. We're going to talk about fur babies, fur animals, and all that good stuff. My guest just happened. One of my coworkers, I was kind of wondering him. I'm like, holy shit, what am I gonna do? I was just like, hey, what should I talk about? And then she's like, hey, you have a service animal because they're getting ready to go to work with me. I have my uncle. And then that was a conversation. I met this individual. His name is Jack Bodolosky. So let's bring him on to the show, or Doc Bodo in the house, as we like to call him.
Hey, how you doing out there? All right, great. Now I got the clap, so I need some penicillin.
Well, hey, I don't know where you're deployed, but hey, it's like herpes. You keep that shit like luggage.
You know where we're all deployed, wherever it's nasty. That's where we're sent to. That's what we're trained to do. So.
Yep. Susie Rotten Crotch in the house.
That's right. That's right.
Hey, man, first of all, thanks for coming on our show, and thanks for your service and everything that you do.
Back at you. Well,
hey,
it's like a brother from another. I love it. Anytime I get together with another veteran and we bond instantly. We don't even have to like each other. We still end up bonding instantly. It's a gift. It's a God's gift that that we go into harm's way and we come back out and we still talk about them cartoons and women and fast cars and play cards, and it's a brotherly bond that we have, and it's great. And it's great to meet you. My niece was in the Navy, and even though she's my niece, she's a sister to me too. So just it's good stuff, and she introduced me to great people like you. So
no, and you hit the nail in the head. It's, I guess, no pun intended, but we walked in the same boots, so to speak.
Through the same shit.
Yeah, maybe the hardships weren't the same, but everybody's been to the field, everybody's been miserable, everybody's 15 minutes to 15 minutes and hurry up and wait. So automatically, you could, you have a lot.
You
of
have a bond that's without even bonding.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like the glue.
Exactly. I don't know about the Air Force, but whatever.
Yeah, well, at least they had nice cots you could steal when you went on base to get stuff. So
No shit. I just say that because one of my kids, he's a major in the well, actually, he was in the Air Force. Now he's in the Space Force, which is really cool. He's been on the show too, but
cool.
I just say that. But one
we
team.
won't hold that to him. We won't hold that against him. I guess
Exactly.
He did do this, so we got to give him that much.
No, and you're 100% right, bro. So hey, why don't we just start from the beginning? Tell us,
Okay.
hey, what branch, how'd you get started, why you joined, and all that good stuff, and then we'll move on to post service, what got you into, and all that good stuff.
So I am a third generation Army. My grandfather was in World War I in Flanders Field as an engineer. My dad was in the 3rd Special Forces Group in Vietnam. I was born and raised. I was born in Fort Dix, New Jersey, slapped on my ass by a Marine Corps colonel when I was brought into this life. Went to Valley Forge Military Academy, met some amazing people there that went on to become, one of them was our commanding general, Norman Schwarzkopf, Mike Miley. There's a list as long that I served with at the military academy, and then I always had the itch. I always wanted to serve my country. I'm proud to be an American. I don't making excuses for that. If you don't like it, there's a border. You can cross it the other way.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that we did wrong, but we sure do a lot of things right, and that's that's the real takeaway. People really need to realize how many people we help, and not even just Americans, but people from all over the world. And that's what makes us the greatest country in the world, because we're willing to go and do that and sacrifice so others can be free. And and I'm proud to carry that torch. I'm very proud of it. I love my brothers and sisters. I was an Army medic. I went in 1988, got out in 96. I got out in 96 not because I wanted to. They cut the forces down. I served in Honduras and Iraq, and I've been around a few places I can't even talk about. So one of my biggest jobs in the military is to preserve our fighting force, whether we're in wartime or peacetime. And I took an Army medic oath, and I still follow it to this day. 22 people that we're losing every day is unacceptable, and that number is much higher because a lot of states don't even
Report those
register.
numbers.
Yeah, it's just a catchy number to say 22 a day, but I think it's much higher than that. We have guys and girls dying from exposures and everything else that they just give up and not take the medicine anymore, or not go get seen anymore, or they're done. So our job as brothers and sisters is to keep the family whole. So that's why I formed Warrior Companion. One of the biggest things is that we give these guys and girls homes and cars and dogs and everything else, but we don't give them any ways to maintain those things. And that's what I'm here to do, is to maintain the dogs, that dog is fit for duty, is there and present for our brothers and sisters that served, and that are on a fixed income. And that's why I did what I did.
So let's go back. Let's go back a little bit, so we can paint the picture to everybody that's listening, because I think it's important.
Sure.
Some of the things that that you said. So you were in you got into the Army. What was your MOS while you were in the service?
So I went in as a 91 Alpha, and then ended up becoming a 68 Whiskey. So 91 Alpha was a combat medic, just fresh out of school. And then I went to Airborne, so then I became a 91 Papa, and then went to war and became a 86 Whiskey. Actually, it was a 92 Bravo, and then I just changed the MOS to a 68 Whiskey. So I'm a combat medic.
Okay.
And that was my MOS.
It's folks like you, man. Maybe you should. I'm gonna tell Aaron to bring you on the show too. You guys have a lot of common ground. He was corpsman, combat corpsman, retired as a chief. But anyways, we'll discuss that after the show. So
Yeah.
So then where did you get the idea of, hey, these animals, the things that they provide for us? What led you, or what things led you to where you're at, having this organization that helps service members and people who need these animals? What brought you to that point?
Well, one of the biggest things is I've been in the veterinarian industry for 30 years. My wife's a veterinarian. I met my wife in the Army. She was also a medic in the Army. She wasn't a combat medic, but she was activated during Desert Shield, Desert Storm. And I met her when I got back to my duty station. I was TDY. Most of my military career, I was always assigned to somebody. I never really had a home. So my base was Fort Lee, Virginia. That's where they kind of put me when they didn't have anything. To kind of put me on a shelf. And then when they needed me, they'd take me off the shelf and send me wherever they needed me. So I got pushed out of the Army. Met my wife. We got married. She's a veterinarian. She's always wanted to have her own business, so we have our own animal hospital. I became the practice manager of her business. In the meantime, doing all the other stuff that I do, because I got my hands in a lot of different ventures.
Same.
And I always wanted to have some type of charity to help my brothers and sisters. I wasn't sure what that looked like. In 2014, I formed a nonprofit called the Companion Animal Foundation, where we would do, vaccine clinics and spay and neuter clinics, but everybody does that. The SPCA does that. All these other animal alliance groups already do that. So I didn't want to be that guy and do the same thing everybody else was doing. I'm really an eccentric dude. I march to my own beat, let's basically say, because and when I went in the Army, I purposely went as a medic because if I want to commandeer your shit, I just took it. So because I had the power to do that. I don't care what rank you were, because if I needed it to save lives, then I could do that. So it kind of fits my personality, let's just say. So in 2015, I had a completely over the top emotionally breakdown. I had some anniversary stuff come up, and it sent my PTSD into places I didn't even know was even existed. I knew all about, what thinking of taking your life. I thought about, all the stuff that you talk about, you say never can happen to you. Well, it happened to me in 2015. So I basically went on let's say a walkabout, from Crocodile Dundee,
Right.
and took 5 years trying to find myself. I didn't want to hurt my wife. I didn't want to hurt my child. I didn't want to hurt myself. I was just trying to find where I fit in life, because my whole world just fell apart. All over one incident in my life. And this happens to a lot of us veterans. And the reason why I'm talking about this is because there may be somebody out there right now going through exactly what I am. You ruin relationships, you do stupid shit, the list is long. But I have another friend of mine who was a combat medic. He and I served together. I introduced him to his wife that he's been married to for 33 years now. I was there when she I witnessed her wedding so that they could be married before we went off to the Gulf War. Art had been always knew that there something wasn't right because I would avoid him. And he just kind of pestered the shit out of me, like, our brothers always do. And basically was begging me to come to BAMSI, which is at Fort Sam Houston, Walter Brooks Medical Center. And Lieutenant Dan, Gary Sinise.
Gary Sinise, yeah.
Was doing a special event there for veterans, and he was looking for VIPs. He was looking for combat medics to come and spend a day with him and honor our brothers and sisters. Well, like he's an amazing man. That's all I can say. There's
I've met
nothing
Gary a
I
couple
can say
times
bad about him.
Yeah, I know. I met Gary a couple times, and the dude is what he does. It was actually in Hollywood, California. I mean, this dude put all these people together, and he's a huge advocate for us service members. So God bless that dude.
His Lieutenant Dan band, and he plays amazing bass. He had Chef Irvine there. I got to meet Chef Irvine. So one of the things that I didn't want to go there because I never wanted to really see. I didn't want to see that aspect of it. I always seen them when they left me, and the majority of them were still alive, right? I didn't want to see the aftermath, and that's probably why I didn't want to go all the time. Well, I'm glad I went this time. While I was at his event, he was visiting our brothers and sisters that were very injured, missing arms, limbs, torsos, half a face, severely burned, to the point where it almost made me want to leave a few times. I just couldn't sit there and see that. Well, I didn't. I stuck it out. And the very last veteran of the day, we went into his room, and he's laying in basically a mobile gurney, that he had, almost like a mobilized wheelchair. And he's sitting in like the spaceship, like he's in a recliner chair all the time. He got a Foley bag in, IV in his one arm, and he has missing his one arm. He's missing both his legs. And he had a service dog there, and his family was there. A very young man, probably 19, 20 years old. And the dog, the service animal, when Gary was with the veteran, that dog was interacting with the kids and keeping the kids occupied. And I focused on that dog from that point on. I just was drawn to him. I wanted to kind of see where he was going and what he was doing. So Gary spent as much time as he did with the veteran. And then when Gary turned from the veteran to the family, that dog circled around. And now, mind you, when Gary goes into a room, there's always like an entourage. I mean, it's not, he always has somebody there to help or somebody to move things out of the way for the veteran. There's always people in the room around him. We were in the room with him as guests. And it's very tight in there. But I watched that dog go around everybody and not pay attention to anybody, and worked his way back around to that veteran, and then he slid his head up under the 3 fingers left on that man's hand. And I'm getting chills now thinking about it. And the look on the veteran's face said it all to me. That dog just gave him comfort that he was needing, because he was already, well, you know how we are with being combat guys. We're already at a heightened sense on everything. So our anxiety, where people are anxious, they don't even know what anxious is. We're already way above that level, whatever that level is. And you can just see the relaxed in his face, the relaxed in his body when that dog put his head up underneath that arm. And that's when the light bulb went off and said, dummy, if you don't take care of these animals for these guys and girls, then you don't have no purpose on life at all. You don't have any purpose on this earth. You must as well just leave now. And that's where I came up with the idea of Warrior Companion. And that's why we provide the pet insurance for those dogs, that way they can perform the duties that they do day in and day out. And they need to be in top shape, just like you and I were in the Army and the Marine Corps, because we have to stay physically fit in order to do our job. And that's why I decided to do the pet insurance. And because that's the only way to make sure that they're healthy, because they can't talk. So that's how Warrior Companion got started.
So what, and God bless you for, I guess the universe, God, whatever it is that you believe in,
whatever you want to believe in.
It puts you in
there's
places.
A power out there.
Yeah, it puts you in places where you're needed, or to show you, like you said, hey, dummy, you're here for a reason.
I was the perfect person at the perfect time at the perfect place to see, and it helps me because now I'm doing my job. It gives me purpose. So it's not just for the veteran or the dog, it's also for myself, which is hard to get a win-win-win. We go in some shitty ordeals and never know if we're going to come out, and wonder why we came out and others didn't. Now I know why, because God has a bigger plan for us. And it was, our brothers and sisters that didn't come home, and their time here was done. So our job is to make sure that they're happy, healthy, and as fit as we can keep them to stay our brothers and sisters as long as we can have them.
So what is Warrior Companion? You said, they provide pet insurance. So what would that cover, and how does one would qualify for the listeners that are out there?
So what you would do is you would fill out a form, go to warriorcompanion.com. There's some form PDF forms on there. You can print them off. You can fill them out. I'll need a copy of your DD-214. I don't need to know that the animal's a service animal, because I believe that all the animals that our brothers and sisters have are doing some type of service, whether it's a companion animal or a dog that, helps them navigate houses and curbs and stability or whatever. They don't have to be a fully trained dog to be covered. Because I think that the dog is what really saves the veteran, because it gives the veteran a sense of unit, a team spirit that doesn't judge them, doesn't get pissed off at them. They love them no matter. I think you and I talked about this. You could throw your wife and the dog in the trunk and drive to the airport. I'm using your analogy, and when you open the trunk, see who's happy to see you.
That's Colonel Kaczynski, Craig Kaczynski.
So, and when you said that, I was like, that hit it. That right there was the best visualization that you can give this particular ordeal. It's like that's why I think God put us together, so we can talk about these things and really show how important those animals are to these men and women. And it's not just veterans. I also do disabled first responders too. And a lot of our disabled first responders are also veterans. So,
yeah,
to me, a hero is a hero. I don't care what uniform you are, whether it's a police uniform, a fire uniform, an EMS, a Marine, Navy, Air Force. Well, I don't know about Air Force, but just if you're serving, you have done things and put yourself in situations that no one will ever understand. Number one. Number two, you're in it anyway. Even through basic training, there's stuff that we've go through that are that's very tough. And if you're afraid of heights, is one of them. Or you got a lot of fears you got to get over when you're in basic training. So you don't even have to serve in full combat. And I still think you can see, just doing your everyday jobs, you see things, because in the military, everything's fast moving. If you have PTSD, you have PTSD.
Right.
So.
No, and knowing now what, I guess everything takes with time and, time and experience. Knowing now what, I didn't know then and whatever, I think it's all about perception and how we see things. We have things that we bring with us or baggage from when we were younger, whatever, and whatever else.
Sure.
That you compartmentalize, and then you go into service, whether you saw combat or other things, that may be traumatic. You have another exposure. So all those things, that exposure may be a trigger to bringing some stuff back, or later on, as the case it was for me, it just after a while, just putting shit away, storing it in that wall locker or that foot locker, it just the lid popped open and all this this gaggle fuck of shit just overspilled. And around the same time frame when you were going through your stuff, that was kind of the same for me. And so
I was talking to a 90-year-old veteran at the VA in Jacksonville not even that long ago. He was in World War II. He spent 4 years in combat. And he said it didn't hit him to his 88th birthday. When his last brother that he served with died, that's when it hit him. So it doesn't matter how old you are or how you compartmentalized it and put it in a box. It could still come out at any
oh
day.
no, that shit is gonna come back. I'm gonna tell you that right now.
And he said it came back in a way that he never even thought. He didn't even know half the shit he was holding back until it all came unwound. So he said to me, he says, "Thank God it happened to you when it did when you were 45." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, all right." I look at the other way. At least you had till 88 years old before you had to put up with this shit,
Yeah.
But so it's hard to say when a veteran or a person is going to have these things that are going to make them just go over the edge. There's no more about face at that point. There's no more, it's just, I don't know how to explain it. All I can tell you is it happens, but I can tell you when I'm having a crisis, my family does not know, but my animal knows. My dog is so far up my butt when I'm having a bad day. It's irritating sometimes. And it's doing that to bring me to now, into this moment. And that's the beauty of what these animals do. They just know they have that ability. God gave them a sense that that's why they're man's best friend. That's why the companion animals are great. Even a cat. Some people love cats. Some cats love people. So we even cover cats. So
what? So because we got about five minutes, and I like to
yeah,
focus. So what serve? So you got the pet insurance. So that encompass pretty much everything, or
everything. It takes care of the preventative care, where your vaccines, your spay and neutering, your teeth cleanings. If they need specialized food, prescription foods, everything. And then there's a catastrophe element to it, that if someone backs over your dog in a driveway, needs hip replacement, knee replacement, there's $25,000 up to $25,000 of coverage there.
wow.
The most the veteran will ever pay out of pocket is 10%. I always try to negotiate that with the veterinarian to give that back to the veteran, so they have zero out of pocket. So that's the beauty of me doing what I'm doing, because I can talk with the veteran, and I can talk with the veterinarians, because I've been in the veterinarian industry for forever, 30 years.
And I take my dog. He's he's a service animal, and now he flies with me. I've even taken him to Colombia. One thing that because I have family there, and so we go there all the time. There's a process that even when you travel abroad with your dog, you have to get a certificate from the FDA. That a veterinarian fills out, and I pay. I have to pay a fee. It's like almost $180. 10 days later, it comes back, and with that, I can walk in. So there's a lot of benefits that you could. When I have him with me, I don't have to worry.
he
I'm talking about
knows
him.
you're talking about
Yeah, I thought. We take him, but I don't have to worry about leaving him behind. And so it's just great that now I can enjoy and bring him, because now if I have an episode, I know that he's gonna be there up my ass. Not literally, but I'm just saying that he's gonna be like, hey,
literally. Sometimes
yeah.
it's crazy how they know. Mine
So
bumps me. He just constantly bumps me until I acknowledge he's there. Because what happens is we go into our space, and then
yep.
we go through all the senses. The scared, the angry, all those phases that you go through when you're in desperation, like that sometimes. And the dog just gets there and just makes you stop dwelling on stuff that no longer need to dwell on.
So where can folks go to find you? One, to see if they if they want to
Well,
participate, or to make donations.
so Doc Bodo, you find me anywhere on all the social medias. That's my call handle on everything I do.
Okay.
Secondly, warriorcompanion.com. You can go on there. You can donate. You can go on there and apply for coverage. You'll see some of the people that are my partners in care on there. The businesses, you can support them, and they directly support me. So there's a lot of ways to go and contribute without contributing, just by doing everyday necessities. So
There it is,
that's
right
how
there
you
at
get
the
a hold
bottom
of
of
me.
the screen.
There you go. Thank you, Brian.
Well, Doc, appreciate your time. It's getting to be that time. It's kind of like at the comedy show when they flicker the lights on the comedian.
The hook is coming out right now.
Yeah. No shit, but we'll be sure to bring you back, because I want to also focus on, like you mentioned, you have other ways to fund your organization, which are some great, I think, another venues that we could talk about as a veteran, an entrepreneur yourself, that because at the end, all these monies tie into, and they help out. It benefits other is the bottom.
It's a win-win. If it's not a win-win, it's not worth doing.
Exactly. Thanks for your time, man, and thanks for your service. We really appreciate you coming on the show, and we'll
I
definitely bring you
appreciate
back.
you, and I'm glad that we got to connect. And tell my niece I love her.
Hey, shout out to Crystal Bangs at my job. I'm not gonna say the company, because then now I'm advocating for them, and you know how shit is. Thanks, Doc. Semper Fi, brother. Hoorah, and get some.
Absolutely.
hey, everybody, like Doc mentioned, the statistics in regards to the 22, the number of 22 of people who veterans who commit suicide a day. I'm pretty sure it's much higher, like he said. And the bottom line is, yeah, while doing push-ups and all these challenges to raise awareness, it's all fine and dandy. How about if we just, make a phone call to a buddy or reach out to somebody that you may know that may be having issues and be their guardian angel and that one individual to hopefully stop them from doing something stupid and that they stick around because everything is momentarily. So, thanks so much for your time. I just want to, give a shout out to everybody. Daisuke, Aishtimas. And with that being said, everybody, hoorah, get some, and I'll see you next week.